I've been told by people in the know that the skill of a sleight of hand magician is to get you to watch his left hand while his right hand does the trick. Do we have a little bit of magic going on here in today's news stories? Stick with me, people, because I'm just getting started. On Monday, the 2nd of May, 2022, I have had this information on the back burner for quite some time. Yes, we've talked about the radon scam, RN222, and we've talked about lead paint. Are they really taking it out of the paint so that their ground-based radar technologies, their forward-looking infrared, kind of want to peek inside, see what you're doing in your home 20? Just said, is that a possibility, people? Okay, now, one of the other reasons I've kept this on the back burner for quite some time is it because it can be easily misunderstood what I'm trying to tell you here. Also, it sounds like I'm putting out some radiation fear porn, which I most certainly am not. I'm anti-radiation scare scams. I've said that before. Yes, nuclear weapons can be totally devastating, but a sphere the size of a golf ball that comes in at 15,000 pounds of TNT, what do you care? If the golf ball went off or if the pile of TNT went off, you're going to be dead just the same. Oh, but Dave, it's that residual radiation that will make life unbearable on Earth for millions and billions of years and nuclear winters. Say, here's what the news has been over the weekend. Well, it's been over the last month, actually. Month and a half. Somebody's hell-bent for election to get a nuclear war started between the U.S., NATO, and Russia over this Ukraine nonsense. Creepy Uncle Joe just appropriated, or is trying to get Congress to appropriate another $33 billion. Comedian leftist Jerry Dorr says $20 billion, you could cure homelessness in America. And that's if you could get the homes away from BlackRock Vanguard, who are buying up all the properties. Pretty soon, people, you're going to struggle to get a trailer park rental or an apartment. But that's not what this is about today. So we're going to have to set up a few things in perspective. And one of the things we're going to have to deal with here is Scope Dope 101. What's a scope dope, people? Well, that's an affectionate term for a radar man. Yep. Whether the radar operator is a high patrolman trying to catch your speed, military, like out at the Minot Air Force Base, your flexible, fluid, most incredibly humble messenger when he was in the big nav. Yeah, radar. Radar and radar technology. So we're going to kind of keep this all into a perspective here. It's going to be some science. Easily to misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. I'm going to keep it simple. And here we go. One of the reasons they had to ban RN222, the radon scam, one of the reasons, or they created fear over radon, and they're always after lead, lead's bad, is because both exist on the uranium decay chain. Uranium, basically worthless, natural occurring radioactive materials, the big U, ultimately decays down into Pb, the chemical element name for lead. That's on radon's on that scale. So if you hate one end of it, you're going to have to hate the other. So if the uranium's bad, well, obviously the lead it decays into is equally bad. You see how these magicians work? It's mind-boggling how goddamn good they are. All right. Now, to keep things in perspective, because I think we are being exposed to the very skilled hand of a sleight-of-hand magician. We're watching his left-hand nuclear wars. Oh, and by the way, did I mention, Bill Gates loves it. Bill Gates was enamored by the power of an active volcano when it excavated all those metric tons of earth, blew them up into the sky in particles, and blotted out the sun. Yeah, there's some sick puppies walking around our earth, and the gates of hell is one of them. Nuclear war. It should do the same thing. Little nuclear weapons. Excavating the earth, blowing them up into the sky. Making the mushroom cloud, don't you know? Alright. Now, I'm going to give you a comparison here because we're going to have to look at the EMF, Echo Mike Foxtrot spectrum. All energy, all radiation is on the EMF spectrum, people. You need simply go to Google Images, type in EMF spectrum, and you'll get these cool charts. At one end is the lower frequency, longer wavelength, and or longer wavelength broadcast radio band. And at the far other end is the high ultraviolet, the nuclear radiation band. All radiation. KFYR in Bismarck, 50,000 watts of power. Scott Hennon would call it the blowtorch of the prairie. Radiates at 50,000 watts. Nuclear weapons radiate EMF in the negative nanometer bands. Same spectrum. Somewhere along that, just off to the middle, is the visible light band. That's what we can see with our eyes. Light is on the same EMF spectrum. I'm trying to speak purposely slow so you get where I'm coming from. And you can take a prism, I think Pink Floyd did it for you on Dark Side of the Moon, and hold it up to the sunlight, and it'll break down into the 7 colors. Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Now, what's on the other side of violet? Now, we're not going to be able to see it, so we need special, sophisticated, sensitive meters. We have the ultraviolet. Nuclear energy is ultraviolet light energy. What's on the other side? On the red side? Well, you have your infrared. You have your microwaves. You have your radar. And then we keep on going to an ever-increasing long-wave radio broadcast and then extremely low frequency. Okay. Pretty simple, huh? Putting things in perspective. We already told you about KFYR, 50,000 watts. That's amplitude modulation. Then you have frequency modulation. Think of your classic FM rocker country. Stereo, don't you know? Yeah, FM is easier modulated with stereophonic technology than the amplitude, the AM radio station. Then we have what the radar men work with. That's whether it's a high patrolman, Minot Air Force Base, yours truly, pulse modulation. And that can go up into the megawatt category. In perspective, your cell phone transmits, radiates, radiation, EMF spectrum, 1/4 to 1/2 watt. Your average microwave oven, 1,000 to 1,500 watts. Like a baseboard heater. Now, they do, I guess some of the cheaper microwave ovens will come in at 800 watts, but they ain't worth a shit at doing microwave popcorn. Trust me on that, you need at least 1,000 watt or better. So power is measured in watts. Energy is measured in ergs. Echo, Romeo, Gulf, Sierra. And where do we get that ergs from? Well, let's look at this famous mathematical equation. You know where I'm going to go, people. Einstein's apparent atomic theory. Here we go. Energy, E equals mc squared. Energy measured in ergs equals mass measured in grams times the speed of light squared in meters per second. Well, there's a formula that you can use. Yeah, furlongs times fortnights times the spin of the stars and the rotation of the earth equals the number 6. How did that help you out? Bunch of bullshit. You know, it's such a scam, people, that even the USS Enterprise, when it was first deployed, came out of dry dock or came out of the yards, they had the crew do the E equals mc squared formula on the flight deck. You can Google that image. It's impressive, and it shows you no length, so they will not go to put a scam upon the ever unsuspecting and dumber down public. Excuse me. All right, now, where am I coming up with this skill of a sleight of hand magician? Watch his left hand while the right hand's doing something. Because they're banging the drums from nuclear war. And I'm not saying nuclear war couldn't be devastating. I'm not. I don't have a problem with that. But they're also coming up with the radiation scare scam. I'm going to have to ask you the question here, people. Why is there a discrimination on this EMF spectrum we just talked about? Why do you discriminate at only one end of it? Why don't you worry about the other ends and the middle? Now, when you get a sunburn, infrared, part just slightly before the red visible, you don't need to go to a doctor, do you? To have a doctor, a medical officer tell you, yeah, what do you think, doc? Yeah, I think you got burned by the sun. Go put some aloe vera gel on it. White vinegar actually does work too. And don't be so fucking stupid when you're laying out on the beach. Okay, but then you have the legislative burn, people. the atomic veteran burn. All these atomic veterans that charged the atomic blast back in the 40s and 50s. All the nuclear Navy, all the nuclear sailors that are clogging up all the VA hospitals because they're on those miserable submarines, center section reactors. Totally life dependent on it, by the way. Because if the reactor failed, that goddamn thing would go down and never come back up. And here's a question for you rocket scientists. How much lead and concrete can you put on a submarine before the thing goes down and never comes up? Not a lot. Not like the scam at your commercial power plants with their huge containment domes. Pure bullshit again. So, you have the legislative, the atomic veteran burn. A burn that doesn't burn. A burn that leaves no red skin, erythema, it's called in the trade, people. Reddening of the skin. And it did not detach the retina from your eye. Think lasers here, people. Very low-powered lasers can cause eye damage, and that's precisely how they do it. Radiation again, whether it's light-stimulated modulation, whether it's radio attenuation, it matters not. Same EMF spectrum. And by the way, the deadly ionizing radiation? All white light ionizes. They can easily prove that. You could have proved it as a kid with some of your glow-in-the-dark toys. Alright. Now, what am I going to talk about here, real quickly? Is there something in your home that'll tip you off that there's more than one way to skin a cat? Is there more than one way to kill a fragile human? Yes, nuclear weapons. Very good. But are they getting us to look left when the attack might be coming from the right? And where am I going? Cell phone towers, people. I've said this before in many of my past podcasts. Go look at the cable racks. Look at those 6 or 8 feeders. Do you know what they look like to me? High voltage transmission power lines. The kind where they generate the power in Beulah, North Dakota and ship it down to Minneapolis for end use. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they got. And that's for what? A half a watt cell phone transmitting? Give me I almost swore. I almost said give me a fucking break. So, that's what I'm saying. Lots of ways to kill a human being. And they want us dead. Don't be surprised if you're looking left, waiting for the mushroom clouds, and they cook you, just like you do when you're heating up your macaroni and cheese in your microwave. I'm just saying, people, you understand now why I kind of held this back. I hope I didn't lose anyone. Any questions? I'm going to play this back, see if I got any contradictions that are very severe. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you, I got stuff to do.